So I would like you to tell me about your pursuit of acting, how you started out in terms of where you thought you were going to go, what experiences were unexpected, what the best and the worst of it is, and kind of what surprises came up and where you are now.
Okay.
So start anywhere in there.
All right. Well, I guess I first started acting when I was 4 years old. We were in a church play, and I got to play the little girl who went up and sat on the bench, and that's kind of where I got bitten by the acting bug. I knew I loved being in front of people and the response, and like how I could change people's energy and how people liked watching what I was doing. So I liked being able to do that. So I took a bunch of acting courses when I was little, and like summer camps and everything. Took every drama course in school I could.
How little were, when you say when you were little, how old were you? Taking classes?
Oh, taking classes. I guess I started taking classes when I was about 7.
All right.
7 till like yeah. From then on, every summer or like every drama class or whatever that they had that my dad or my mom heard about, they put us in. They put my sister in it too to see how she liked it, but she wasn't as into it. She liked it and she was very good at it, but she wasn't as into it. And then I always knew I wanted to go to film school. I did theater here and there, and I liked theater, but I was more of a film actor. Watching films always inspired me more than watching theater. Though I do love live performances.
So you started out young. The first acting experience in the church play was you noticed right away that there was this interaction with the audience. You enjoyed that interaction. You took more classes along the way, but at some point you started thinking about film. Now the question I have is that if you first got on the interaction directly between you and an audience, you don't get that in a film.
Yeah.
So how did you make that transition where you preferred that over the original?
Just as an audience member, what inspired me more? Was it theater or was it film? And it was actually performances on film, because performances, when I look at film, when I watch a movie, it's much how I see a lot of my interactions with people. Like, I get really in there and I see the emotion that's happening right on their faces. When you can see it like right in their eyes. Film acting is all about your eyes. And then I also thought about, like, there's the other side of it where I thought about, okay, what's gonna like last longer here and what pays me more money? Like, what can I make a better living off of? Theater or film? I mean, it's clear to anybody in the industry that film is a much higher paying medium, unless you get into the elite group of theaters. Right. But I've never, I'm kind of a bad actor in the way that I'm not into musical theater. I don't sing. I do sing, but I don't want to sing Disney and dance to it. I don't want to do Shakespeare all the time. I love Shakespeare, but I don't want to do it all the time. So that kind of ruled out theater a lot for me. So, or the higher paying theater classes, or theater gigs. So I went into film. I went to Prague Film School. Loved it, but noticed this subtle competition about everything. Every single thing you do is a little bit of a competition according to other people. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the industry to be so convoluted. It's really, that industry is very much about who you know. It doesn't matter how pretty you are or how talented you are. That'll get you places. Don't get me wrong. It's really makes it a lot easier if you're good looking and talented. Those two things are very important. But it's not about that at the end of the day. It's about who you know, how good at networking you are, what parties you attend, and really how likable you are in the beginning. Because if people don't like you, they don't want to work with you. Or if people don't see that they can benefit from you in some way, from putting you into their production, then they don't want you.
Okay, so you made the the choice, you pursued the film acting over the stage is partly just because it's a more valuable, permanent, enduring performance. It's more intimate because the camera zeroes right in on your face, whereas the audience is never that close. And
it seems more real to me too. Theater seems staged.
How real in the sense the camera's capturing exactly even though you're doing different takes, it's real in the sense that it's actually got what you're right there in front of the camera.
Totally.
That part.
There's, and I mean, for any actors or people, industry people watching this, there's arguments for both sides of it. It's just what I resonate more with. What seems more real to me.
So the feelings were that in going to Prague school, it's not a talent-based, you know, it's not a civil service thing. There's competition always, and it's always, you know, who you know and your connections and how well people, you know, want to work with you in that particular movie. But at the same time, I'm curious about what did you see in movies that enchanted you, especially towards film, in the sense of, was there certain actresses or certain scenes in certain movies? Was it just the film itself is more graphically engaging with the sound background and the amount of work they put into editing? It's a more valuable.
It's more engaging, and like honestly, I know. Just as far as being an actor, like I couldn't decide what I wanted to be. I wanted to be everything, and an actor allows you to do that. It gives you so much life experience, and the more life experience you gain, the more valuable it is. So, your craft, you know, every life experience, everything you suffer through, every joy you experience, every tear you shed, every retreat to Hawaii you do, every new self-discovery is valuable to your career. Because it gives you more life experience, you're able to relate to more. So
film acting is obviously you're doing this method acting, you're bringing your experience into it, but are you also saying that the acting itself is a learning experience?
Totally. Every character.
Because you're working with a crew and a director and a script and a part.
And like if you're a character, like if you're Queen Victoria, I mean,
you get to channel Queen Victoria.
Yeah. What's it like to be Queen Victoria? Well, let's find out. What's it like to be a plumber? I don't know. Let's find out. So
do you ever find yourself kind of channeling the actual character? It's like you're almost in a semi-trance or something? I
kind of knew I was different when I started acting, when I went to film school, because we were asked to sit down and go around the class and say what acting is to you. And everybody had these wonderful answers. But I was the only one who thought that acting was like becoming a vessel, where you are literally open to channeling a character. So it really surprised me when that wasn't everybody's approach to it. Right. That's something I didn't expect. Yeah. And how everybody has their own take on it. Yeah. I guess like it makes perfect sense to me now.
So in your experiences thus far, is there a certain character you felt like I melded and blended with that particular character? Like I became, is it like, you know, you're always in role or whatever, however they say that, or do you actually kind of fall into it when you're being the films?
There's some that are much easier to fall into than others. I mean, the character Alice that I play on the film Leia was very easy for me to play. I related to her very well because she's very much how I would become if I was put into her situation. I resonate with that character really well. Characters that are harder for me to play are like sociopaths or narcissists. Once you get into that role, like once you understand what it's like, it's easy to play. But it was very hard for me to get into that, to like connect with somebody who's so disconnected to everything else but themselves.
So with some parts, you because it draws so much in your background, it's very easy. But are you saying things like feeling mean and being completely selfish are so unnatural to you that you can't? It's hard to initially get in them. But you're saying you also learned how to do it. That must have been.
Once I learned how to do it, it was like, oh, that's what it's like. Okay, well, that's not actually that hard. It's not part of my nature.
Yeah.
It's part of human nature. I think it is being selfish and having your own motives at the root of everything. Right. That's human nature. And I understand it, and to some degree, I think it was always a part of what I was doing underneath a lot of layers, but that wasn't the root of why I was doing everything. It was part of it, but I understand now how for a lot of people, everything they do has, at the root of everything they do, there is a selfish intention, which is not necessarily bad. We have these awful connotations attached to being selfish in our society. And that's not always a bad thing.
Now, you said from another conversation that acting has taught you a lot about how to interact with people and understand people.
Yeah.
Could you tell me more about that? Because what you're saying now is that you can learn to do feelings that you're not used to doing if you work at it.
Comfortable doing. I mean, actors are basically the emotional prostitutes of our society. We feel things that people don't want to feel. We not only do we feel that and we're vulnerable and we're uncomfortable feeling it, we film it and send it out for the world to see.
Right.
You have to be a little bit cracked in order to do that.
Well,
I think.
well let me be specific. Okay. If your part calls for you to hurt somebody, and you do it well, where you're actually projecting, I want to hurt you and you need to feel pain and I'm going to make you feel pain, don't you actually feel that you're communicating that pain? Because you have to actually kind of zap the other actor, even though it's a part.
Yeah, I mean, it gets.
How
really
do you
intense.
do that?
It's
because you're an empath.
You find a way to justify it for yourself. You find a way. You can never judge your character. You can't say, "Oh, this person." Like, I remember this put it in perspective for me. One of my teachers was actually the casting director for this TV series, where they had to it was all about the Holocaust. So they had to cast somebody playing Hitler, and she interviewed all these actors who were playing Hitler well. But you could tell they were judging the character they were playing. And the actor they actually cast to play Hitler was so successful because he found a way to justify all of his actions.
Right.
And he was doing it all for his daughter, to make a better world for his daughter. So you have to find that link where you can personally justify your actions so they're no longer bad. You're doing it for a good cause. So in that way, it actually helped me to relate to people because I understand their actions. Like somebody who's lashing out and hurting you, they've been hurt along the way, so that's actually their way of making themselves feel better. Or have you done something that reminds them of a hurt they experienced as a child?
Yeah.
Maybe something you're doing is reminding them of the way their mother was abusive to them.
So your process of playing those not natural, not your type feelings is that you it sounds to me a little bit like you're saying I'm convincing myself it's not me obviously playing, it's this other character, almost like you're channeling a different character. You're a vessel, and so it's no longer Carrie here. It's the other one who's on the stage acting, because it can't be you.
There are it's kind of like a hybrid. It depends on the character. Like, okay, let me think. There was a time where I had to play somebody who was like, it's a character from Single White Female. And if you've ever watched that movie, it's about a roommate who brings in, a woman who brings in a roommate, and she starts off as friends, but it turns out she's this crazy murderer who wants to take on the personality of whoever she's around. And this person is completely like, when you look at her, this person seems like just some crazy serial killer.
Yeah.
Really, underneath it all, you realize she loves that person so much, and she's so not okay with who she is. She almost doesn't have her own identity because she hates who she is so much. She wants to become that person. So you can sympathize with it. And I just thought about, okay, who do I want to become so much? Like, who do I look up to? Who do I want to become so bad that I would actually be willing to like go to any means necessary? And then I just found out who that person was. I couldn't find one like single being who I wanted to become so bad. So I kind of fabricated one. I took bits and pieces from different people I admired and melded them together, and then I put that onto the other actor I was playing. I just substituted them. So
what you just said to me is that from my perspective of knowing you've said you've learned to perfectly model how human beings think, and if you can think like a human being, you can act and feel like a human being as an effective actress. Was there a point when you first discovered that was like, wow, I can actually? Because you didn't used to do that, right? You didn't. Some of these things are completely new that you're doing in acting.
Yeah, I mean, before I went to film school, I would play really weird parts that weren't human at all. I would find myself playing birds and like humanoid birds, and characters like that, or just really crazy comedic characters who were really, in my mind, they were fairies, but that wasn't really anybody's business. Yeah, I guess it was, yeah, you learn to think like a human being when you're playing a human being. If you're playing a nymph, you learn to think like a nymph.
Yeah,
If you're playing a gnome, you learn to think like a gnome.
Well, could you just give me a comment? What do you notice about the way human beings' minds work? Like, what is the brilliance of almost like in that movie AI, the robots haven't met a real human being for thousands of years, and they're saying the race was so brilliant, but they couldn't understand them at all. What is the brilliance of the human way of thinking, and also its greatest weakness?
It's the same thing. It's one and the same. The human mind, the human being, now, this is both positive and negative, and I don't want people to get worked up about this, because I mentioned it before. Every single thing that a human being does, underneath it all, has a selfish motive. There's always something in it for them. Even love. Love is selfish. It's both selfless and selfish at the same time. If you didn't love that person, if you didn't feel the feelings you felt towards the other person, you wouldn't do what you do for them. So it's its greatest strength because it compels them to, and I think a lot of human beings aren't even aware of it. You know.
You're saying that being selfish has a great advantage because it does.
It drives them to do things.
It motivates. Extremely motivating.
Yeah, okay. It's like it. I think it is the most powerful motivation you can give somebody. That's unless they're working from a place of complete non-causal love and empathy for everybody around them.
What qualities would you have as a actress, model, or something in 3 years that internally that you'd like to have that you don't have now? In other words, in terms of skills or appeal or charismatic stage presence.
A magnetism that is so powerful that it draws people, it drives people to put me in their productions. I'd love for people to be able to look at me and say, that's the girl I need. I need her. It doesn't matter, I need her in my next production. It doesn't matter what I have to do. Here's your scripts. What kind of money do you need? What color of M&Ms do you need on set? What do you need? Let me put you in my next production. So I want to be invited to productions. I don't want to be going to all these auditions and having to prove myself. It's every actor's dream, right? In order to be sent scripts. And
so what type of magnetic field or energy field would you... Can you articulate how your energy would change?
That's what I'm kind of still searching for, I guess.
But it would be that natural attractiveness that people just, it hits them on a non-cognitive level, and they say, this is who I'd like to have on. I'd just like to have that energy on my stage or in my movie.
Totally. I find, though, and I found for every other artist around me, that the more they relax and the more they do things that make them happy, the more that naturally comes. So I'm learning that. I've learned that because I look back 2 years, even 2 years ago, and I had this like sense of desperation around me. I really don't like that energy that was around me. The sense of like a knowing and needing to be validated, and desperation, like, oh, please put me in your film. I just want to be in a film so bad. And now that's starting to go away, and I'm noticing as I'm becoming more okay with myself and not needing validation from the outside. When I'm completely validated in who I am, and I already consider myself successful, and know that I'm successful, because I'm just doing this, and I'm already doing it, it's happening, it's here, it's now, the more it sort of comes to me. And I've noticed that with every other artist, and if I think about it even further, every professional or successful entrepreneur.
So as you're gaining more experience, you're noticing you can be more relaxed. The more relaxed you are, the more your kind of natural magnetic attractive quality comes out.
It just needs to come out more.